So once we remove the negative battery cable, we're going to go ahead and take off this cover. This is going to expose some Torx bolts that we're going to have to remove to take the door panel off. So there's one at the top, and then there's going to be one in the middle. Usually in the older ones there's one at the bottom. Just for the newer 2008 1 Series, it's going to be right in the middle. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take off the cover. That'll expose the third Torx bolt. Can be a little tough, so you can get a little pick in there. You can actually kind of try to pop it out. This one was being extra stubborn. And then you'll take your T20 right there. Go ahead and you can try taking those bolts out. And so probably saw on the first one that the window switch was actually sticking up a little bit. It was going back and forth a little bit on this, fighting with this. It turns out in order to get this certain one out, you have to pop the top section up, and then there's actually some tabs on the back section where the window lock button kind of is, and that's actually where it slides in. So like the older ones where it would both be a pressure fit where you'd pop the whole thing just up, this one's a little bit different, and I found out the hard way. So use this video to learn from my mistakes. I almost ripped the entire window switch in half, so I don't advise doing what I did, but like I said, if you just lift the front section up, you should be able to slide it forward and then it will pop out. I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward a little bit through this, but I thought it'd be kind of important to show you guys that I almost broke it in the process. And so once I actually got it figured out, I was able to kind of just push it right out and then disconnect it. So I went ahead and took my plastic pry bar after that and just found a spot on the door panel. Usually I like to start in the bottom corner and try to get some of the clips undone from the actual door itself. Once you get one going, give it a little pressure and start working around. You'll actually start popping them out. Don't be afraid to use a little bit of force on this. The only thing that can be difficult is the top section. You've got the door lock indicator, you've got the speaker, as well as the door handle itself, which just has a latch kind of system in the back. So you don't want to pull too hard away from the door. You don't want to damage any wiring or any of the system up there. And if you can just get it just right, it'll pop off. Funny thing about mine is was I actually popped off the actual indicator for the door lock completely off. It shot inside the car, so just be careful when you're taking it off. So after that, I take a X-Acto knife and I actually just kind of cut the glue in half, I guess you could say. Take off that moisture barrier, sound deadening, whatever you really want to call it. I think it's a little bit of both. I just kind of extend the X-Acto knife pretty far out. There's a lot of blade exposed, and I just use that to kind of slice my way through, and it actually works pretty well. It doesn't stretch the glue out to where it gets everywhere and it gets all over my hands and stuff, and kind of just apply a little bit of pressure. The most important thing about this is just take your time. So once you get all that out of the way, you can see what happened here. The regulator completely just broke. That's why the window doesn't really want to go up, stay up, or anything like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace this. So one thing I've been seeing other YouTubers do is kind of a good idea. I went to Harbor Freight and I got one of those dent puller suction cup things, and I kind of utilize that to hold the window up right where I need it, because there's only certain sections of the door where you can actually access what you need to take the window out. So it's really helpful. I wish I would have done that a long time ago. So if you look, I did rearrange the suction cup to be a little bit farther down. You can see the splined wheels, I guess you could say, for these particular cars. They're not really held on by a traditional kind of like bolt system, where there's just standard head. They're actually like these sprocket looking splines. I don't know what you want to call them. The thing about it too is if you take an oil filter wrench like this and you actually get behind there, it's actually the easiest way to get undone. They're on there pretty hard. So if it's got the right angle with their teeth, the oil filter wrench actually wrap around it and helps you kind of undo it. And this one you're going to go clockwise, since technically you're facing the opposite of it. So once you get it loose though, you can kind of undo it with just your hand the rest of the way. It comes right out. See, just like that. See, once you get both sides out, just go ahead and just pull that window right out. Just make sure that the tabs that hold the window in place on the regulator are free from one another, and mine got caught up a little bit, but once you get those out of the way, the window will come right out. Since we're going to take the regulator out, you can see there's a couple of nuts you're going to have to take out. One over there, one right there, one down there in the bottom inner side. And then if you actually move up the barrier, you can actually see that there's two nuts on the bottom that you're going to have to remove. And removing all those will allow you to take the regulator right out. And also, don't forget to disconnect the motor. So with all those removed, you just kind of go ahead and get in there and just kind of carefully finesse the old regulator out. Sometimes I go in there with some wire cutters and I just finish cutting the wires that are part of the cable system. It just kind of helps me get it out of the way faster. And there you go. One important thing to remember though is if your regulator replacement didn't come with the motor, you're gonna have to actually replace, put the old motor back onto the new regulator. So don't forget that step. And with everything all set up and the old motor put on the new regulator, you can just go ahead and slide it in. Start with the inner part. Kind of finesse it in there like that, and then put the outer part, the regulator goes right there, and just get everything lined up. I don't generally put everything down super tight with the nuts and the bolts and everything until I've got the window in there and I know that everything's aligned. There's not going to be any fitment issues or anything like that. So now that we got the new regulator in, we can go ahead and slide the window back into the guides. Should be some tracks. Just make sure that you get everything lined up just right. Go ahead and take your time with this. During this video, actually, I found out that I was a little off on one of the tracks. It was just barely outside of the actual groove, and it did work, but when I tried putting everything back together later, I noticed that it was starting to stick again to the point where it wasn't really wanting to move. So I had to actually go back and redo this all with the window, but that's why I say just take your time, make sure everything's nice and clean, make sure you can clean out any dirt or anything you've got, and you should be good to go. Pretty much everything else is just the reverse order. And as you can see, just go ahead and test out the system before you actually use it, and that's pretty much it. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Don't forget to like, and I hope to bring some more videos to you guys soon. Thank you.